years, and it's creating more disease for the rest of your farm. So that roguing is a piece of that management puzzle that worked well for them last season.
And I rogued in a couple different ways. We had the point of the field where the disease was clearly getting established. We killed all those plants. If we were going to do it again, I would kill a swath around there, because 5 days later, more disease showed up. It was already beginning. You know, the infections had already occurred, they just hadn't manifested themselves. So I would kill a bigger swath. And we'll come back to that. Well, do you have a recommendation how big a swath we should kill?
I don't have a recommendation for that, because the likelihood of the plants, the number of plants being infected around an infected plant, it's very high.
Yeah.
Because with aerial dispersal and aerial movement of late blight, for the most part, you're getting a uniform infection field-wide. So you may just see it in one corner first, but really everything's been inoculated. So when you're talking about how much to kill around that one plant, you know, it's a tough call.
My gut instinct is about 15 feet, because I could see. So let me finish on how I rogued. We rogued heavily the stuff that was diseased. It was all in the eastern field. We had another field which was almost completely clean. There was just a little bit showing up, and I went in there with a propane torch and I killed off any diseased plants I could find. If it had more than, let's say, 5 lesions, I killed the whole plant. I would kill the adjacent plants. If I found just one, and you get really good at recognizing this, I was burning off the leaves and cutting off the surrounding branches. And that field had not been infected. With this kind of maintenance, combined with the weather turning dry, which was our real savior, I think if it had stayed wet, we would still have the disease progressing quickly, but it turned dry, plus the roguing, plus weekly copper sprays. We were able to keep that field clean for a very long time. And then we did not work as hard on our southern field. It was intended to be a very late planted, late harvested field. We didn't work so hard out there, and we really lost that field.
Yeah, especially one row. There was one row off to the side that never got sprayed with copper, and it went down totally quickly, about mid-September, about when that later planting started to ripen.
Yes.
But the side that was sprayed in that third planting hung in there. It did okay.
Yeah, we could definitely see the effect of the copper springs. You and I talked this winter, and the most interesting thing you said at that meeting was that the farmers in Michigan, the organic farmers in Michigan, deal with late blight every year in their crop. Did you see something along those lines?
Yeah, they deal with it much more frequently, and we've seen it in Wisconsin.
Okay.
That's true.
And what do they do?
They apply copper.
And that's it. Okay.
Generally.
All right.
There really isn't anything else that they can be using that's known to be effective.
Okay.
But I think there's some. How frequently does the copper need to be applied, and maybe touch on the cultural issues in terms of you're growing potato and tomato. Potatoes are posing a particular risk this year for multiple reasons. Maybe you want to touch on that.
Yeah, so there are a couple of other complicating factors with this late blight, and one is, you know, what kind of late blight is it, and what can we expect of it in terms of host range and virulent, how aggressive it can be, and so certainly if you've got potatoes next to tomatoes, both are at risk for getting late blight. And in last season, the tomato was the crop that seemed to be most susceptible to the type of late blight we had. It's a new type called US 22. This season, we're seeing late blight show up in potato fields and in tomato. And in fields when it's in potato, it's been quite aggressive this season so far. So the approach this season is that you're not safer with a potato crop, certainly. And if you've got potatoes next to tomatoes, you need to be protecting both. One's not more of a risk to the other. With respect to other cultural management, with this aerial dispersed late blight.
Yeah, just let them put that.
You gotta give them a pass for going there.